Welcome back, City Builders. Kodiak the Kodiak here. On this week's City Skylines 2 news update, we are gifted autumn and winter leaves. CityPlannerPlays gives us even better tips on how to build better infrastructure in our cities. We were also blessed with some beautiful pictures from Adonis. Before we dive into it, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you can keep up to date on all the City Skylines 2 news. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, before we get started, I just want to remind you guys that the embargo lifts for all creators starting the 19th of October. So starting on the 19th, they have complete and unrestricted access to the game in terms of creating content. So they will be able to and allowed to say whatever they want about the game, including performance. I mean, like the full NDA lift, full embargo lift, they will be able to say anything and everything they want about the game. So that's really cool. I'm really excited to see what these creators have to say about things like performance and things that they haven't been able to talk about yet. Like if any of them have seen anything related to the mod workshop. Now, we know that Paradox Mods has an option on the main menu screen, and we can safely probably maybe assume that it'll probably be on the Steam Workshop. I'd be surprised if it isn't. But we also don't know if any of these creators have access to it. I have heard that it potentially sends them to a 404 page when they click on Paradox Mods, so they might not even have access to it, but I'll be really interested to see if any of them have or what any of them have to say about it. They'll also be able to have a little bit more freedom when it comes to what they have to say negatively about the game as well. There have been some, restrictions, not necessarily on whether or not they can talk poorly about the game, but just in things like performance, for example. That was something they've not been able to or allowed to talk about, and I know some of them have been maybe a little bit under the table about talking about performance. Anywho, that embargo lifts on the 19th. I'm really interested to see what they have to say. I am potentially interested in getting a roundtable together of some of the creators and maybe just having an open discussion where people can floor questions, or they can at least bounce some of those discussions off of one another about potential ways that certain problems could be fixed or certain ways that they think things should be handled. But anyways, if that happens, I will give you guys more details in a community post on the YouTube channel. I also want to use this time to thank everyone. We did hit 2,000 subscribers on the channel, which is amazing. I'm very excited about it. I will have a community poll sometime soon about what we will be doing because we'll be celebrating with a YouTube live stream, my first one ever. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys can keep up to date on that. Without further ado, let's get into the new news, and we're going to start off with the big one. That fall and winter leaves are now on trees in the new version of the beta, which was showed off on the City Skylines live stream as well as some of the other creators' videos. These videos are still being made while the game is currently still being developed, so lots of new stuff is constantly being added. So some of the creators recorded their videos before the fall leaves were included, so a lot of them you'll watch, and then towards the end you'll get cinematics with the fall leaves, or they'll say, whoa, the second half of the video was made after the update because the update came on Monday and then their videos came out on Wednesday, so they would have had to have recorded it after Monday in order to get the fall leaves. Yada, yada, yada. That being said, we get to see them, and I think they look really nice. It's really cool that the trees have variety, too. It's not like one tree only is yellow and then one tree is only orange. They have a variety of colors in the leaves. It's super cool. Now, not only did we get the fall leaves, but we also got winter leaves now. It does look like that... I couldn't really tell, to be quite honest with you, and it's something I need to ask the creators about, I think maybe a little bit more, was that the winter trees did just look like some of them lost their leaves, but then some of them were evergreens and had snow on their leaves, but they look like they were trees that should have, in theory, lost their leaves. The game's in development, and they're just added this feature, so like the rest of it might come in a future update that we will see maybe in like a week or so. But I'm just a little confused on how snow and the leaves losing and how that entire system works. It also leads me to believe some questions I had about just trees losing leaves in general, because we did see some trees without leaves in some of the new creator videos and on the dev live stream, but if you guys remember from the original gameplay reveal trailer, there were some dead trees in the forest. Now, I originally found out about the dead trees in the forest from watching CityPlannerPlays' original reaction video to the gameplay trailer. And it was something he noticed that I didn't notice the first time around. And now the trees for winter kind of look like those trees when they lose their leaves, which makes sense. Dead trees sometimes look like trees in the winter when they lose their leaves. But it did get me thinking about CityPlannerPlays, who is somebody I watched their video of this past week, and holy cow, did he have a ton of awesome tips and information in his video. He also blessed me by coming into my Twitch stream the other day while I was watching all of the creator videos, and you know, he definitely gave me some information that I'll be sharing throughout the rest of this video, which was super awesome of him. So big shout out to Phil. Please go follow him. His link will be in the annotations up above. I'm sure I'll put it in the description as well. But he gave me a lot of good stuff, so we're gonna talk about CityPlannerPlays for a little bit. One of the biggest tips that I think he gave in his video, which again I highly encourage you to watch, link in the description, please go watch it after you're done watching my video, was a tip on forcing the game to put pillars or basically create nodes on roads. So as we know, there are certain elements of Move It that are kind of included inside of City Skylines 1, but as you also might know, that nodes and segments are a little bit more fluid in City Skylines 2. They're not as rigid or as structured as they were in City Skylines 1, but they still exist and they still play an important part to how the road kind of develops and what segments of what get upgraded when you upgrade. And so what CityPlannerPlays noticed was that if you just double click on a road segment with that same road segment selected, so if you like or want to build a 2-lane road, for example, and you double click on a segment of the road, it will just auto generate a node there. And CityPlannerPlays used this to make pillars on sections of bridges where there wasn't pillars before. This was an awesome tip, and I'm sure that's going to carry through to the main game. He also gave another really good tip about tricking buildings to build at specific heights. So something he noticed is that the larger area you zone, so essentially the bigger building you make, the taller it is in its category. So if you actually build a 4x6 or 6x6 skyscraper, it's going to be taller than any of the 4x2 or 4x4 skyscrapers that you could possibly get spawned into your game. So if you want a skyline that isn't as tall as the maximum height values for some of those assets, you should actually just make sure that the buildings that are getting zoned in are a little smaller. I think it's a pretty good tip for anybody who's trying to, like, you know, maybe control how their city looks a little bit more. It's a really solid tip. But anyways, he has a bunch more, and I don't want to leak all of them, so please make sure you guys go watch his video because, I mean, his was fantastic. It was really good. On top of that, in the background of today's video, you guys are actually listening to CityPlannerPlays has his own music catalog now called Master Plan Music. You guys can check it out on Spotify. I'll leave a link to that down in the description below, as well as a link to a website that he has kind of catered to it and kind of has all the descriptions and rules, bylaws, regulations. It's royalty-free music. Use it in your videos. And it's brought to you by CityPlannerPlays, and it's called Master Planned Music. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'm sure Phil will be happy that you guys do if you do. All right, this is about the halfway point in the video where I usually like to thank my Discord subscribers. So I want to give a huge shout out to Wheatbread and J15 Wine and RKP, who are my highest tier patrons. So I want to thank you guys so much, as well as my other Discord subscriber, which are down below. And yeah, anyways, get back to the video. Make sure to drop a like, leave a nice comment, and do all that other cool stuff. Now, to move on to another content creator who made some amazing stuff, we're going to talk about Adonis. Now, Adonis is a content creator I hadn't really heard of before, mostly because they're from China, and their content primarily is not in English, but holy cow, was I blessed with this tweet on my timeline today. Now, just look at these screenshots. I specifically want to focus in on 2 from this tweet, but oh my God. I know a lot of people have been a little critical about the graphics of City Skylines 2, like, oh, that isn't that good or whatever, but holy cow, man. I mean, like, that first shot is just incredible. And then if you roll into the second shot with the lighting, oh, chef's kiss. I am blown away by what Adonis was able to achieve with these screenshots for the game. And even the other 2 were also really stunning, and especially that last one where it really shows off how the lighting and the haze and the fog can kind of all come together to create some of these beautiful shots in the game. And if you think, oh, you know, these are just screenshots, we have no idea what the performance will look like with these screenshots as well, don't worry, you guys can actually go watch Adonis's video, which the first screenshot and the second one are both actually parts or stills of a video on his channel. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to go over there and look at this one as well after you're done watching CityPlannerPlays, obviously. But please go look at this if you guys want to see some of the absolute stunning beauty that you can achieve in City Skylines 2, because wow. Something else I wanted to point out about Adonis was look at this still frame from Adonis's video. This is why I'm encouraging you guys to go watch it. But look at the road textures on this with the lighting and the textures of the ground. And this all kind of came with a recent 4K textures update that they kind of pushed out on these content creators towards the end of their recording time, I guess, for this latest batch of videos. So kind of around Monday to Wednesday when they uploaded them, they basically got dumped on with all of these new high-res textures that, according to Biffa, really did not impact performance performance actually at all. Like, their FPS stayed mostly the same, and as a trade-off, they got these amazing, beautiful, fantastic textures on things like the ground right here. So again, shout out to Adonis. Incredible stuff he was able to achieve, showing off the actual raw beauty that this game is going to provide for us. Now, speaking about stunning beauty, that doesn't come without a cost, and one of those was the FPS, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, and I gave a little bit more of an update on the last video, so I just want to remind you guys about that. We talked about it in the first week, that the FPS was a little not great. I think maybe some people thought that you were going to be able to get 60 FPS in the game, and I definitely thought so too, but maybe not on high settings. But one of the content creators has been kind of showing an FPS chart in their videos. I'm going to keep their name out of it because I don't know if they're supposed to, but we've kind of been reporting on it over here. I did check in on the latest batch of videos, and they still had it in their video, and their FPS was still all over the place. Now, this creator is playing on 4K, so if you're playing on 1080p, you might not experience any problems, and you might actually get really smooth FPS. I have no idea. I don't have access to the game. There's still levels of optimization they have to go through, and we don't have benchmarks. But what we can see right now is that this creator was getting down to about 20 FPS in certain spots. They were playing on 4K, or at least their video was in 4K, and it looked like they had most settings on high. Their game looked really good, but that really goodness didn't necessarily not come at a cost. Biffa also said he wanted to comment on performance, and that's something he's definitely going to be talking about on the 19th. And in CityPlannerPlays pin comment that he had on his latest video, he did say, going to be upfront here, folks, and say that there is one issue that is not discussed in this one, and that I'll cover as soon as I can. Performance, stay tuned. I feel like I'm fear-mongering performance a lot, and something that a lot of these creators pointed out, Biffa especially, was that there was a lot of creators in their creator group that maybe didn't have computers that were up to snuff with even the minimum recommended specs. I know for a fact that one of the creators had a below minimum spec CPU, but above minimum or even closer to recommended specs GPU on their rig, and they were actually able to play the game just fine. Now, granted, it was definitely potentially a rough performance for them. They weren't getting the best FPS, but the game was definitely still playable, and they were able to create something really amazing. And Biffa harped that home as well in his video, which, again, if you guys are looking for even more City Skylines 2 content, you might as well go watch Biffa. Biffa uploaded 2 videos. One of them was almost like a tell-all, not necessarily a tell-all because they can't say everything, but it was mostly his thoughts on the game and some negatives and positives with his experiences, and the other one was his actual gameplay, which I haven't watched yet, to be quite honest with you, but I did watch his thoughts video, and that was something that he did talk about, was that, you know, he definitely has his own gripes and opinions on the performance, and like, you know, the game looks really good, but it definitely comes at a tall cost, I guess, for you know, your actual hardware that you have. But people who were below minimum specs on certain aspects of their rig were still able to play the game. So, you know, minimum specs might not actually be that big of a deal. So if you were a little concerned that your GPU or your CPU went below minimum specs, you might not actually be out of luck. And, you know, down the road, they're probably going to have some optimization, performance updates. Again, this is like one of the last stages of development in these games. So, you know, that's something really important to think of as well. Now, again, as we talk about potential optimizations coming up, it has been constant updates for these creators. I heard that they even had an update that came out on Wednesday that the dev build that on the dev live stream was even different than the one that they had when they were recording, and there's a lot of updates being pushed to this beta build right now. So things are constantly changing. These developers are working incredibly hard behind the scenes, and that's being shown by them adding fall leaves. There's constant balance changes apparently going on behind the scenes as well. A bunch of creators were complaining that there was like a bug that showed them having negative money, and then that's been fixed now. And you know, there's been a bunch of balance changes where a lot of creators were saying it's low density demand all the time, and yeah, it was overtuned, but then some of the creators said that other creators didn't know how to build the city right to get it to trick the game into getting the right zoning types, and it's a new game, people are still learning it, and so I think the balancing is something that will definitely come over time. I think the balancing is something that we shouldn't necessarily worry about, but even Henka, the developer from the Dev Diaries, who we saw many a times, was actually on the Dev live stream this past week, and he talked about the game as well, and he definitely spoke about balancing and that it's something that they're constantly working on behind the scenes to make sure that everything's right. So if you see a creator saying like, oh, there's, you know, low density, that might be fixed by launch, so don't worry too much about stuff like that. I know a really common bug was that a bunch of commercial businesses were saying there wasn't enough customers, and Henka actually specifically pointed that one out, I believe, in the live stream and said that that's something that's been patched. So that's also good to hear. Now, leading up to this dev diary, I have seen a relentless amount of comments and people talking about traffic. Where's the traffic? Oh my God, where's the traffic? And I don't know, it's something I've been complaining about a little bit on my Twitch live stream, that people keep complaining about how there's no traffic. And yeah, there's no traffic. Up until this week, these creators hadn't even hit 8,000 population yet. They've been building their cities incredibly well. They haven't been forcing them or putting them into situations where pedestrians aren't encouraged to walk. People move into cities and City Skylines too without cars sometimes, so they're always forced to walk or take public transit. And if I remember correctly, there's only one car per household, so they have to carpool anyways, or else the other ones will have to walk. So yeah, you're not gonna really get a lot of traffic yet in City Skylines 2 up until this week, and we were finally able to see some of those traffic jams start to form in a lot of these creators' videos. So don't worry, there's traffic, you just gotta get there. You know, you're not gonna see traffic in a sub 10,000 pop city, or else you did something really wrong. And you'll see Canadian Moose Plays in his video, again, link in the description for all these videos that I'm bringing up. In his video especially, he was able to force traffic so that way people could see it. But he had to forcibly do it. And in CityPlannerPlays video, he specifically mentioned, hey, when you start getting up in pop, that traffic shows up, and it shows up heavy as you get into those higher densities and you start building those bigger buildings. So don't worry, traffic's there. And the last thing I want to bring up in this video is the launch time. We did get the launch time of the game confirmed. So on October 24th, you will know exactly what time City Skylines 2 will be coming out. Now, I believe this was posted on Instagram. They asked what time on the 24th does it release? Will we find out closer to launch day? It responded with 6 p.m. Central European Summertime. Now, if you're an American like me, that means it's noon Eastern time. So noon in New York City, that was when the game will be coming out for us Americans. Now, I'm not sure if the countdown timer that's in City Skylines 1 actually lines up with this time. I'm assuming it probably does. So I don't actually know if this is like really that new of information, which is why I didn't highlight it too much in the thumbnail. But it's new to me because I actually didn't take the time to think about what time the game actually comes out and just more the date. But as we get closer to launch, time starts to get important. So now you guys know. All right, now again, as is something I said at the very beginning, I am actually not I feel like there's something I forgot. I feel like there's something I forgot this week. So if there's something I forgot and you're like, oh my God, Kodiak, how did you miss this? Please put it down in the comments down below so I can think about it. Again, there's some stuff that like was shown off this week that was maybe talked about in previous weeks that isn't really new news, but it might be new news to you. So you might just put that down in the comments and it'll just be like an information sharing party down there. So please make sure you guys do that. Anyways, I'll be back again on Sunday of next week, which will have hopefully a ton of new news because the creators' embargoes will be lifted and they'll be able to talk about the game completely and freely. And, you know, we might get some crazy stuff. So definitely make sure you guys are subscribed and notifications turned on because that'll be the next video I upload is after the embargo lifts on Thursday. If any of you guys have been following me on Twitch, again, I thank you. I'll be live, I think the day this goes up on Sunday, and we might not be doing city stuff. We might be doing city stuff. I don't know. Anyways, we'll be live on Tuesday for sure, and we'll be doing a bunch of actual city stuff. And then Thursday, I'm actually going to be taking the day off to kind of just unpack all of the embargo lifting stuff and get it ready for the video on Sunday. And for those of you who don't know, I'll be doing a subathon for the launch of City Skylines 2 over on Twitch. So if you guys aren't following over there, and please make sure that you do. I might not do a news update the week after the game comes out just because I might be live for the subathon, if that makes sense. Anyways, I couldn't be more ecstatic about the launch of City Skylines 2. I hope you guys are too. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.